On 3 ossuaries, 4 names had been uncovered: Joseph, Jesus, Mary, and Matthew. And then on an ossuary found deep within the tomb, another name was discovered.
This inscription says Yosa, with a hey in the end. It's a diminutive of Yosef. There is no question about it. As an ossuary inscription, this would probably be quite unusual.
If I'm publishing in English, I say, oh, okay, there's a Joseph. Well, there's not just a Joseph. It's Yosei. Now, in Hebrew, Yossi in Israel today is quite common. Yossi, Joseph, like Joey. But Yosei you will never hear. And you didn't hear it in the ancient world either. The Yod, the E becomes a Yosei. Guess where we know that name? In the Gospel of Mark, Jesus has a brother. People don't all know that Jesus had brothers. Most scholars, you know, the Roman Catholic Church says they were cousins, and other people they were stepbrothers. But most of the historians and the biblical scholars have pretty well now admitted Jesus had brothers. They're named in the Gospels, the 4 brothers: James, Joseph, Jude, and Simon. But the Joseph in Mark, only in Mark, our earliest Gospel, it's not Joseph, it's Yosei.
Yosei, or Josie in English, was the brother of Jesus. But the Gospels don't tell us much more than that. He disappears after 3 brief citations. What happened to Yosei is a mystery. But if the ossuaries from the Talpiot tomb belong to the Jesus family, then Yosei has finally been found. Of all the ossuary inscriptions ever discovered, there is only one with this unique spelling of the nickname Yosei.
Look, it's the nickname that appears here, right next to Jesus, son of Joseph. The brother was known as Josie, not Joseph, and it's exactly in the same configuration right here. Josie, Yosa.
In 1980, archaeologists were cataloging ossuary names in lists of hundreds. And from this tomb, they now had Yosei, a rare nickname given to the brother of Jesus; Maria, a rare Latinized version of Mary used in the Gospels to refer to Jesus' mother; Mattia, a version of Matthew that, as it happens, was common in Mary's family; and Jesus, son of Joseph. All found together in a family tomb, all cleaned and cataloged, all bone material reburied together, here in an especially consecrated grave outside Jerusalem. All the ossuaries were then crated and stored for decades on warehouse shelves. Why didn't anyone take notice of these names?
You got to remember that the 1970s and the early 1980s was the boom period for the excavation of tombs in and around Jerusalem. So there was suddenly enormous quantities of ossuaries being brought back to the Rockefeller Museum, the headquarters of the Israel Department of Antiquities. And these inscriptions were deemed to be common.
These are the most common names among Jews in the 1st century Common Era.
These are exceedingly popular names in the period.
All the facts that we have is that there is a cluster of names that resemble many of the names that we find in the New Testament. The other fact is that we find these names in many other places. So suggesting that this tomb was the tomb of the family of Jesus is a far-fetched suggestion, and we need to be very careful with that.
You know, all the tombs around Jerusalem, unfortunately, with construction, are slowly getting exposed and in some cases destroyed. So it's not so far-fetched that a construction crew would have uncovered the tomb of Jesus. You know, I mean, it can happen. I think we have to consider it.
While the statistical probabilities have been argued, They have never been examined by statistical experts until now. André Feuerwerker is a professor of mathematics and statistics. From ossuaries and other sources, he's gathered every name known from the time of Jesus. By noting how often each name occurs, he can statistically evaluate the names discovered in Talpiot.
One of the things that's fairly interesting about this particular tomb site is that from a lay point of view, if one looks at the specific names that occur in the cluster, and if one focuses just on the names individually, one can very well come away with the impression that there is nothing the least bit unusual about this particular cluster. But the correct way to analyze this is to look at all of the names in unison.
According to statistics, if we were on a crowded street in ancient Jerusalem and called out the name Jesus, 4% of the men would most probably answer. If we were to call out the name Mary, 25% of the women would probably respond. They were both common names. But what Feuerwerker explains is that if we were to call out for a Jesus with a father called Joseph, a mother named Mary, and a brother called Jose, the odds that such an individual would respond are quite low.
From a statistical point of view, we don't actually look at the incidences of the individual names where we say that each one of them is a very common name. We look at the way in which the factors combine with each other. So, sure, a father by the name of Joseph is not a rare name. A son by the name of Yeshua is not a rare name. But when you combine those two together, it's rarer. So it really is a possibility that this particular tomb site is in fact the one of the New Testament family. It is a possibility that I think needs to be taken seriously.
Taking the possibility seriously means that we must try to uncover more evidence. And one way to do that is to find the Talpiot tomb. But more than 25 years ago, the tomb was reburied, sealed, and cemented over. A huge complex of apartments was built on top. Even if the tomb can be located, it may well be impossible to get into it, sitting under meters of concrete and foundation. Poring over architectural plans decades old and cross-referencing the IAA archaeology reports, our team believes they've discovered the underground location of the Talpiot tomb.
So we know that there's a tomb right over here, right?
Our research shows that in 1980, 2 tombs were discovered on the Talpiot site. The roof of the second tomb had been partially destroyed by construction, but it was sealed up again and not excavated because of time constraints and pressure from religious groups to keep it undisturbed. The archaeological reports showed that this second tomb is 20 meters north of tomb number 1. The apartment blueprints show that tomb number 1 is located under a patio and beside a bedroom wall. This, we believe, is the tomb we're looking for. Crude IAA sketches suggest that both tombs may have had access pipes installed before building continued above them. It's common for pipes like these to be added at the request of rabbis in response to the Orthodox belief that spirits need a clear passage from a tomb.
We're going to go down however many feet it is till we hit bottom. I mean, once we're down there, if the drawing is accurate and we've got that curve in that pipe, the camera's going to go down the curve, we're going to see what's there.
My concern is that those pipes are bogus, that whoever built it just built pipes there to make rabbis happy. Oh yeah, the souls can move, and there's nothing there. Ideally, you stick your camera down that thing.
Yes.
Confirm that there is a tomb, that there's a space in between the tomb and the bedroom, if you will. I don't know how deep it goes. We cut a hole in the bedroom wall, boom, we're in.
As the burial tomb of Jesus